Services, his additional secretary, my colleague Alok Pandey from Deepam, and Mr. Srinivasan, Mr. Ramesh, and friends. I think we have been waiting for this day for a long time. Government had a strong commitment to list LIC, and it was reflected in Honorable Finance Minister's budget speech, and subsequently the Parliament also passed the Act, LIC Amendment Act, to enable LIC IPO. LIC is a strong corporation of people of India. Listing of LIC is a part of long-term strategic vision of the government and will be high value enhancing for LIC in the long run. The current IPO is the first step of long-term value creation for LIC shareholders. Government is committed to provide good investment and wealth enhancing opportunity to millions of Indians. This is right-sized considering the capital market environment and will not crowd out capital and monetary supply given the current environmental constraints. We expect significant retail participation in line with our vision when we first started discussing the IPO. This is an opportunity for the Indian consumer to participate in the wealth creation of one of India's most valuable corporation. The valuation reflects this opportunity, and the optimal size should provide for a strong demand and aftermarket performance. Even after the reduced size of about 21,000 crore, the LIC IPO is going to be the biggest initial public offering ever in the country. Ultimately, the market and investors will price this deal. Valuation flows from the optimizing positioning, devising the best marketing strategy, accessing the investors in the right way and with the right sequencing, structuring the deal appropriately, and selecting the optimal market window. We have never lacked ambition in meeting our strategic goals. We want to build a quality retail inclusive shareholders register to support a strong future for LIC and a de-risked monetization strategy for the shareholder. We also recognize an IPO is just the beginning. We like to get behind and create a great future path for LIC. We want to champion LIC as a long-term value creator in the equity markets. The current dilution is very small in the overall journey of this great corporation. The decision to list now has taken into account the combination of multiple factors, including market demand, which includes solid anchor book, stabilizing market condition, reducing volatility, domestic flows, and corporations' financial performance. Indian equity capital markets are undoubtedly benefiting from strong structural tailwind given concerns in other markets. Indian markets have recovered from the temporary shock due to global geopolitical events earlier, and volatility has reduced meaningfully from its earlier peak. While global sentiments are weak, Indian markets are resilient on the back of consistently strong domestic flows. This sentiment is evidenced by the Indian equity markets continuing to be strong and the only market in Asia with the fuel to deliver a large IPO. India continues to be the fastest growing major economy in the region, in fact in the world, with a favorable investment climate and stable government. Life insurance is highly underpenetrated segment with a long growth runway in India, and LIC is an undisputed market leader with 60% market share, stands to benefit the most. we have tackled COVID in an exemplary way. Direct and indirect tax collections have been robust coming out of this pandemic, likely a reflection of the ongoing formalization of the Indian economy and the economic growth rebound. Ladies and gentlemen, LIC IPO is a great opportunity. It was considered something unthinkable because this has been a financial institution for a long, long time and continued to remain unlisted for such a long time. And LIC was always an investor. And now today LIC is coming before the investors to get invested in. So it's a great Indian story. And I welcome you all to, reach it out to everyone about this thing. And government really hopes that LIC management and investors and others would be able to pull it through greatly, this IPO. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Secretary Deepam, Mr. Tuinkant Pandey. Additional Secretary DFS, Mr. Amit Agarwal. Joint Secretary Deepam, Mr. Alok Pandey. Mr. Somesh and Mr. Ramesh. My colleagues from LIC. Media persons and press persons available and present here. I thank Mr. Tuinkant Pandey ji for his opening remarks. He has covered a lot of ground. We did have media interaction in the morning with the TV media people. I am sure you have a lot of questions to ask. But just to take a leaf out of what Mr. Tuinkant Pandey said, that LIC having been resilient over the years and having held on to market share comes from the fact that the reason for nationalization of the insurance companies in India in 1956, I go back to that, I just take a brief moment. So I believe that nationalization happened in 1956. LIC probably struggled in the first few decades of actually trying to sell insurance in India. It was very difficult to sell. Managed to gather momentum in the 70s and the 80s. And then it was the only insurance company selling insurance for the Indian public. I call this phase, internally I've said it in the past as well, I call this phase LIC 1.0. And then the opening of the market happened. And contrary to what people thought, LIC adapted to the competition. It grew its technology. It made strides in competitive market and held on to more than normal market share not seen elsewhere in the globe. So I call this phase LIC 2.0. And now that the time has come for LIC to be listed, I believe all LICians will work together to make this a huge success. And from now on, we will call it LIC 3.0. So I thank all of you for being here today, and hopefully together we can make a real impact. Thank you very much.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Honorable Dais, members of the audience, it's my proud privilege to make a small presentation about LIC. Though LIC needs no introduction, I would just like to briefly give you an idea as to what has happened in the corporation in the last few years and maybe what is actually happening now. This presentation covers basically 6 areas. Acha, on this only. These are the 6 areas that I'll be covering. The overview, the customer franchise, the business highlights, actuarial matrices will be covered by my friend, and strategic priorities and outlook with a value proposition. LIC has been the pride of India. We are the second largest life insurers in India, and brand LIC is the third strongest global insurance brand, with a 279 million policies being serviced and having about 1.33 million agents on its roll. We are the strongest, we have the strongest distribution network in India and operating efficiencies which are driven by technology and an established track record of profitable growth. The first life insurer in India, 5th largest by the world, in the world and by life insurance gross written premium. We are the 10th largest global life insurer in total assets, with a 64% market share as of 31st March 2021, which is almost 8 times the nearest competitor. If you look at the scales, we are 21 million individual policies sold against the 12.7. This is 12.7 times the nearest second largest life insurer. INR 1,843 billion. First year new business premium underwritten, which is 66% of the market share. Customers and distribution, if I look at 1.33 million agents again, and that is 55% of the total agents of the entire Indian industry. And their productivity levels are also much higher at 15.3 in comparison to 3.9 policies per private insurer. The premiums underwritten, total premiums and the embedded value, if I look at, we have INR 5,397 billion embedded value, which is the second largest, which is in comparison to the second largest life insurer, 15.3 times larger. INR 40,122 billion assets under management, which is again more than 1.1 times the entire Indian mutual fund industry, and 77% is a 13-month persistency ratio, and 62% is a 61st month persistency ratio, which actually points to the stickiness of our customers. 98.6% of the individual death claim settlement have happened in the last financial year, and this has been a record of performance which the corporation presents. This has been an illustrious journey of 65 years. We started in 1956 by merging 245 companies. Today, we are the market leaders by a large difference, 66% market share in NBP in the year 2021. And even after 20 years of liberalization with a 66% market share, we still continue to be the force to reckon with in the Indian industry. The renewal book is very strong with 63% market share, and we have almost covered 100% of the entire country, with 91% of the country being covered by our brick and mortar offices. We have a differentiated business model with deep, very competitive moats, unmatched scale with 5th largest global life insurer, and a brand which is trusted like no other in India. We have a cross-cyclical and comprehensive product solutions and an unrivaled distribution network, as I already said. With a dedicated focus on technology, we have been the pioneers in bringing technology to India. In the 1960s, we were the beginners of mainframe computers in India. Strong investment and financial track record. We are probably the largest institutional investor in India, and of course, very strong risk control measures, which is the basis or the foot on which we stand very strongly. Moving on to customer franchise and distribution reach, we have an unmatched scale and consistent record of growth. As I already stated, we have 1,843 billion new business premium, which is almost 9 times the nearest competitor. And of course, the growth has been consistent in the business cycles across. Even in the COVID times, we have been consistently able to show growth rate even in the new business premiums. We are a trusted brand, second most valuable brand in India, and with the name that we have carved in the last 65 years of our existence, we are the 10th most valuable insurance brand globally in the year 2021, with a brand strength index score of 84.1 and a brand value of $8,655 million US. In fact, the strength of the brand is such that 75% of the individual policies sold by LIC in India has been sold to new to LIC customers, which means that customers buying insurance still prefer LIC over other competitors. We have a product portfolio which comprises of 16 participating products, 16 non-participating products, 11 group products and 7 riders. But the strength of the corporation has been the strong dominance of par products in our portfolio, which actually creates a balance sheet which is relatively low on interest rates and liquidity risks, which also lessens the burden on guaranteed returns and lowers capital requirements. With a reduced reinsurance requirement, also creates a sticky customer base, which gives us an opportunity for resell and upsell. If you look at the product mix, we have 92.2% of our products coming from par and in the AP segment as well. The strength has been our par, but I would like to also mention here that we have diversified into growth in non-par. If you look at the growth that we have shown in non-par, it's 15.5% CAGR in non-par protection. In non-par savings, we have shown a growth rate of more than 31%. Non-par unit-linked products, we have shown a 369% growth rate in the year 2021 to 2019 to 21 period. And of course, in the annuities and pension, we have shown about 11% growth rate in the last 3 years. And in the annuities and pension segment, we hold almost 77% market share. Group insurance is a volume play for LIC with a market which is expected to grow at a 17.5%. We have almost a 72% market share. And in the annuities market, we have 82.7% of the employed population, 77% of the market share in annuities with a there is a almost 9 times more than the nearest competitor. As I said already, the digital capabilities that we have, we were the pioneers in introducing computers in India, and today we have built digital capabilities across the entire spectrum of a customer acquisition, right from the stage of onboarding till the stage of claims. In fact, we have arrangements of payment of premium with all the payment platforms online. And this has resulted actually in the lower part of the presentation, if you'll see, the percentage of policies with renewal premium which is paid in digital mediums has gone from 26% to 47%, and the collections on digital medium have gone from 17% to 36%. We have probably the largest geographical model in India with presence right from the Himalayas to the seas on the south. If you look at, we have 91% of the districts of India covered with our brick and mortar offices, but our agency force gives us a presence which is spread across the entire geography of India, even beyond. And a market leadership in rural areas with 67% of the business written in rural areas being written by the LIC.
आप और मैं IPO के साथ भी और IPO के बाद भी, लेकिन IPO किसका? LIC का। पैसा लगाना है या नहीं, कितने शेयर के लिए लगाना है, किस कैटेगरी में लगाना है और डिस्काउंट कितना मिलेगा, और पैसा लगाने की प्रोसेस क्या है, बताएंगे ना सब। LIC IPO की पाठशाला और IPO से जुड़ी सारी रिसर्च देखिए मेरे साथ सिर्फ जी बिजनेस पर, लिस्टिंग के साथ भी और लिस्टिंग के बाद भी।
देश की सबसे बड़ी बीमा कंपनी LIC देश के सबसे बड़े IPO के साथ पूंजी बाजार में उतरने जा रही है। कंपनी का IPO 4 से 9 मई तक खुलेगा। इसका प्राइस बैंड 902 से 949 रुपए प्रति शेयर है, जिसमें पॉलिसी धारकों को 60 रुपए का डिस्काउंट भी मिलने वाला है। LIC के चेयरमैन MR कुमार के साथ बातचीत करी है हमारे संवाददाता अनुराग शाह ने।